Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk our way through level 1 reading paper. What you'll want for this video is you want to print out the reading paper attached just above this video and have that with you while you're completing this. Please don't look at the end pages because that's the mark scheme, and if you do that you're literally only cheating yourself. Now, you'll see here in the start instructions, you're given you should spend about 5 to 10 minutes of time reading the source documents. This is really important. You want to have an idea of what these documents contain. Okay? So what I'll do now is I'll stop talking. You pause this video and spend 10 minutes reading through these source documents. Okay, so now you've done that, what we're going to do now is we're going to look at the questions and we're going to go through them one by one and think about how you're going to answer them. Now I'm assuming that you've completed the relevant sections on the Moodle already before you start the mock papers. So this is going to be more of a refresher than anything else. So the main point of document 1. Now as we've discussed with main points, there are, broadly speaking, 4 different categories of purpose for text: persuasive, informative, instructional, and descriptive. And what we need to do now is we need to read that text, read document 1, and we need to think about what the main point is. And we can actually, to be perfectly honest, we can already start to rule some of these out, because we can probably rule out this one, that people should go scuba diving to gather waste, because that's not really a massive part of this, really, is it? And it's probably not going to be to thank the sea diving experts for putting the videos on social media. So what I would like you to do is, now we've removed those 2 possible options because they're clearly wrong, I'd like you to pause the video and have a go at this question. Okay, hopefully you got that the main point is that plastic in the sea is dangerous. Now, and see why some people might be tempted to say governments need to take action to reduce plastic litter in the sea. But if we look back at the source document, that's only the last paragraph or so where it's starting to talk about governments needing to take action. So overall, this document is mostly about plastic in the sea being dangerous. So now we're going to move on to the second part of this question. And what you get here is you get the short sentence, and it's asking you what kind of vocabulary it is. Now, we know it's not informal, because informal language, as we've discussed, includes a lot of slang and stuff like that. It's not particularly descriptive. It hasn't got many adjectives in it. It's got a couple, like black bin, but broadly speaking, it's not going to be descriptive. So, what I would like you to do now is I would like you to pause the video and just see whether you can decide between instructional or persuasive. Okay, you should have got instructional here. What this sentence is doing is it's not really persuading you to do something, because if you remember, persuasive language includes things like rhetorical questions, emotive language, that sort of thing. It's telling you that you need to do something. These words here, you must not. You know, items that can be recycled must not be put in the black bin. That is directly telling you to do something, so it's giving you an instruction. So that's what you need to do here to answer this question. So moving on to question 2. Now question 2 deals with specific use of specific chosen words. So what you'll notice is they'll give you a little clue here. So look at document 1 paragraph 7, or look at document 2 paragraph 1. So they'll tell you where to find these words, which is quite handy. So do pay attention to do that. So what you'll need to do here is you'll need to look at document 1 paragraph 7, and you'll need to explain what international means using a dictionary. Now, do remember, when we were looking at the videos on this earlier on in the Moodle course, what you've got to think about is you've got to think about why the word has been used in this instance. So, pause the video and see what you can come up. Okay, so in this case, international is probably going to mean you involving more than one country. And if we look back at the original document itself, And clearly something has to be done at national and international level, and governments, so governments plural indicates more than one country, doesn't it? So that gives us a bit of a clue as well. So in this context, it's probably talking about involving more than one country. Now, back to question 2b. So, look at document 2, paragraph 1, and explain what the word toxic means. Now, the question here doesn't end with you just identifying what the word toxic means, because that would be very straightforward. That would just be looking something up in the dictionary. You've got to think about why it's been used in this context. So let's have a look at the document in question and see what we can figure out. So it's document 2, paragraph 1. So, plastic waste has very harmful impact on our environment, including plants and animals, and research has shown it can become toxic as it breaks down. Now, you'll have already checked and you'll have already identified that the word toxic means poisonous. So why has it been used in this case? Well, there are a couple of potential answers here, really. There's several right answers for this. Have a think, though, and see if you can figure out why toxic has been used in this case. Pause the video, have a think, jot down. Right, so in this case, the two obvious reasons why the word toxic might have been used is, firstly, it could have been used because the word toxic is quite a strong word, it's quite a horrible sounding word. It could have been used to highlight how dangerous this plastic waste is. Because toxic really does mean, you know, poisonous, harmful to health. So it could have been used to make it sound like, well, to sort of highlight how dangerous this plastic waste is as it decays. Another reason it could have been used is because toxic is quite a scientific term. It's a scientific word, so it could have been used to add a bit of weight to the argument. It could have been used to sort of make the document sound more scientific. So it sort of sounds more like it's written by an expert, so people are more likely to pay attention to it. So, moving on to question 3. Now, question 3 is about inferring from pictures. So you'll remember when we looked at inferred meaning. Inferred meaning is, of course, stuff that's not immediately stated. So it's stuff you have to do a bit of thinking about. In this case, we're inferring meaning from pictures. So let's have a look at the pictures in question. So we've got two pictures here. We've got a seahorse attached to a cotton bud and people gathering plastic waste from the beach. Pause the video and think about what you could infer from these pictures. Okay, so firstly, the important thing to remember with these questions is that you can't just describe what's in the picture. So you can't say, well, picture 1 shows a seahorse clinging to a cotton bud, and picture 2 shows people clearing up plastic waste at the beach. That won't get you any marks because you're just describing what's in the pictures. What you need to think about is what we can infer from those pictures. So that first picture where you've got the seahorse clinging to a plastic cotton bud, that sort of highlights, it really sort of hammers home the effect that plastic waste has on nature, because you've got a seahorse clinging to a cotton bud, you've got a bit of plastic waste there and a bit of nature, you've got an animal. So if you talked there about it highlighting, it showing us the damage that plastic waste can do to the environment, or anything like that, you'll be right. Now, picture 2 shows us people clearing up plastic rubbish on the beach. Now, there are a couple of potential answers for this, really, and the examiner is told to accept things that make sense based on the picture. So you could say, for instance, that it shows that people are doing something to clear up the plastic waste. You could also say that it highlights quite how bad the problem is that people are having to go out and spend their spare time clearing up the beach. Both of those would be absolutely okay. So, moving on to question 4. Now, question 4 is we're identifying opinions and we're identifying a fact from a particular section of the text. So we'll have a quick look at the text again. So it's document 1, paragraph 2 we need to look at. We need to identify one opinion and one fact. So, that's this paragraph here. Have a look, think back to when we were looking at facts and opinions and see if you can identify a fact and opinion from this. Pause the video, have a go. Okay, so what I've done here with this paragraph, so second paragraph here, paragraph 2, is I've highlighted the opinions. Everything else in this is a fact. And the great thing about this is, this type of question, is there's always plenty to choose from. So in terms of facts, the video was posted on social media showing a dive team in the Pacific Ocean. That's a fact. We know that happened. It's just off the coast of Hawaii. Again, that's a fact. We know it happened. There are turtles with patterned shells, tropical fish with flashes of bright colour, jellyfish and octopuses. Again, another fact. That's what we see in the video. Now, in terms of opinion, we see many beautiful sea creatures. Beautiful is an opinionated word. What one person finds beautiful, another person might not. And again, the video makes the viewer feel a sense of wonder at the amazing array of life in our oceans. That, again, is an opinion. It might not make the viewer feel that at all. So there we go. That's how we start to answer that type of question. So getting back to the second part here. So we're then asked to do the same thing, but with document 2, paragraph 1. So again, we'll have a quick look. Document 2, paragraph 1. So this is this paragraph here. So pause the video and see what you can come up with. Okay, so again, I've highlighted the opinions here. So let's talk through the facts first. So something needs to be done. The issue is being discussed at local, national and international levels. Well, that's a fact. We know that's been discussed at local, national and international levels. Plastic waste has a very harmful impact on our environment. And continuing on that sentence, again, that's a fact. Research has shown that it's become toxic as it breaks down. That's a fact. We know that because we can check it. You know, someone's done the science behind that. Now, in terms of opinion, we've got these two here. So, you are probably aware of the problem of plastic pollution. Again, that's an opinion. Sure, most people might have heard of it, but we can't really prove that one way or the other, can we? That's somebody's opinion that the person reading this is going to know about it. The amount of plastic waste littering our environment is a growing concern for us all. Again, that's an opinion. It might not be a growing concern for some people. Some people might not care. As long as their life goes on as normal, they don't care what goes on around them. Other people might not know, so it's not going to be a concern for them, is it? So again, that's an opinion. So we'll move back to the questions now. We might have time for one more before we move on to a new video. We'll see. So what we're doing here with this question, question 5, is asking us to find ideas in both of these extracts. So what we need to do is we need to find 2 ideas that are similar in these extracts from the documents. Okay, so we're looking at the extracts below and we're identifying 2 similar ideas. So pause the video and see what you can come up with. Okay, so there are 3 similar ideas in both these extracts and we're going to go through those. Firstly, the idea that it's a concern, that there's a rising concern about plastic waste. So we've got here the amount of plastic waste littering our environment is a growing concern to us all. And we've also got soon turns to horror at the extent of plastic waste in our oceans is clear to see. So in both those things, we have this idea that plastic waste in the oceans is a growing concern. Now, the second one, the second key idea that's shared between both of these extracts is the impact of plastic waste. So viewers have expressed their shock at the impact we're having on our ocean's environment. And again here, plastic waste has a very harmful impact on our environment. So that's a shared idea across both. They're not quite the same idea, but they're similar enough to count for this, you know. Both documents are saying that it's a concern and that that the impact is harmful. And the final one is that something needs to be done. There needs to be action. So in this one, we've got it has led to many people calling for immediate action. And in this one, you've got something needs to be done as the issue has been discussed at local, national, and international levels. So that's 3 key ideas that are shared here. The idea that it's a concern, the idea that it has a negative impact on our environment, and the idea that something needs to be done. So we've got through to question 5. In the next video, we'll be looking at questions 6, 7, and 8.